a tough business out there, and even I'm finding it tough, and I've been in it for so many years now, and luckily I've been really, really blessed. But it's been a time more than ever where people are creating projects for themselves. A-listers are starting up production companies to do their own films, because the industry is looked at as a luxury, not as a necessity. And so yeah, it's tough out there. So I'm sure there's lots of very talented people out there just waiting for their moment, and I'm sure it will come, please God.
What are you? I was looking at your CV and you've done so many incredible things. Are you fundamentally a singer that acts, or an actor that sings, or a dancer that does both?
I feel like in my heart I'm just an all-round entertainer. I feel like I should have been around in the 50s in the MGM days, doing the whole Judy Garland, Marilyn Monroe, Audrey Hepburn movies, I never sort of feel happy just doing one thing. If I could, I would love to do musical film forever. I really would. As camp as it is, I love it. And yeah, because it's just so romantic and you can escape, and I think romance is sort of the only bit of adult magic that we're allowed left, really. So I like to indulge in that as often as I can.
You don't do much musical theatre now because you've been writing and doing stuff. Is that something you'd like to go into? Because it seems like you would be a popular choice for a musical, because they do like a star name to bring people in.
Yeah, and it's something that I'd always trained for. Since I was 9 years old, I studied Shakespeare and Lambda and ballet, tap, jazz, and you bring it all together, and it's just, I think it's really magical. But I think doing theatre, you reach such a small audience. And kind of people forget about you. They think you're not actually out there working when you're working in theatre. And that's fine if you absolutely love it to the point you don't want to do anything else. I do absolutely love it. But my favourite thing in the world is TV and film. That's where I feel most at home. And if you could do like a musical, like I say, a musical film, that for me would be a dream come true, which I've never done.
And the truth is they aren't really making them, so you're narrowing your options of work, really, because you are so talented. It's a shame that if you end up doing a loose women's style programme where you're just talking, well, we don't get to see your true talent, do we? No, maybe I should do like a modern day Des O'Connor show where I can get up and have a sing, and I can interview writers, models, rock stars and actresses. That for me would be amazing, because then I can talk about all the things that I know and I've understood and I've studied and done, and I kind of got that relationship with them, but I'm also kind of letting them have their time to shine as well, because I love people. I'm fascinated by people, and I can never get enough of them, which is a good thing in this job. Otherwise I'd be in trouble. Right, let's talk about the beginnings, because your childhood was an interesting one and not a particularly happy one. Your father didn't seem a nice man at all. At this point in your life, have you come to terms with all that? Do you now love him again, or can you not forgive him for the things he did to you and your mother? Yeah, I did have a dark childhood, and it was really difficult. I do think it was a massive part of what kind of spurred me on to be successful, and to take care of my family. That's what drives me. I look after my brother. He's 18, he's got special needs, and he's amazing, and he helps you kind of put things into perspective. When you're sort of upset that you haven't got a film role and your mum says, guess what, your brother got on the bus on his own today, you really sort of know what matters. And I think that looking after them, because they have been so amazing and so supportive, and it always made me feel like anything is possible. I don't want that feeling to go away. And in regards to my dad, it was sad the way things worked out. I think everybody in an ideal world would love two ideal parents, but I don't know many people that do have it. Even if they're still together or they're in contact, they still drive them nuts or they have their issues. I don't know a family that doesn't. And for me, I think in the future, when he's not around anymore, I won't sort of miss him because I don't really know him, but I just think it will be a shame that he missed out on a relationship with me and I missed out on a relationship with him, and it would have been for what could have been rather than what actually is. Are you done with your dad now? I mean, will there be ever a point where you can go back and try and start again, or is just too much water under the bridge? I just don't feel like he's not been in my life since I was 9. So and up until then the relationship wasn't good, so I don't miss it. When something's not good or it's not been around you, you really don't miss it, and you find that other things fulfill you and other people fulfill you, and most importantly you start fulfilling you, and so that gap's just not there for me. They say you can choose your friends but you can't choose your family. It's true. And you've got a great family around you now, as you say, with your mum and stuff. I mean, you're very blessed to have that. And she must be an incredibly strong woman, because when I read about what she went through, it's a wonder she's still here. I mean, really, it wasn't nice.
No, she is my hero. And I know people go, oh, Martine's so close with her mum. And it's sort of like, you know, fingers down the throat thing. They don't kind of feel comfortable, do they, people, but, you know, with anything that's sentimental. But I am really close to her because, you know, when you've seen what we've seen and what we've come through together, and she was young, she was 19 when she had me, so we're like best friends as well. And in my own little way with her, we are our own little sort of soulmates, if you like. And I look up to her because she could have so easily have become hard and jaded and not believe in love, and, you know, just become very fearful and scared. And she just didn't. She said, go for it, be brave, live. You're going to fall on the floor and you're going to have, you know, heavenly highs. And that is part of living. And the minute that stops, you're dead. So enjoy it, you know. I
think you're an inspiration as a person, because we're all dealt the same cards when we're born, and then different things happen. Was there a point when you thought, why me?
There have been times in my life where I found things really difficult, really hard, when love eluded me for quite a long time. You know, you can't help, you'd be lying if you say you don't go home and you don't question yourself and think, is it me, is it something I'm doing, you know. But I think that you're constantly learning about yourself, and until you kind of get to a place where you know yourself and you trust yourself a bit, which comes with growing up as well, you can't then make the right decisions about who should be in your life, be it as a manager or be it in your love life. You know, you need to take time to know who you are and why you are the way you are and address it from there. But it's difficult to kind of, that sounds a bit simple, but when you're in the public eye and you're expected to have answers at 18 for the whole of your life, it's really difficult. And when you say I don't know, it doesn't really fill their pages, you know, so it's not interesting. So you kind of have to grow up so quickly and sometimes ahead of time, and, you know, you're almost a bit like a robot. You know, on paper everything's perfect, but inside, as a result, there's a even more huge mishmash, you know. So what was lovely about me taking time out to write the book was I just had time to just be a woman and not be the star and not be the celebrity and not be the victim in love and all these labels that you carry around on your shoulders. It was lovely just to be Martine again. It was really nice.
I'll tell you my perception of you as a guy who just watched you on the TV. Firstly was that you were gorgeous, but that you were warm and there was something endearing about you. Now, that's a quality that you can't buy, and I think I'm not the only one to say that about you.
Yeah, I think whenever I've played a part, the director and the audience have always wanted me to take a huge essence of me to that part. And I think the essence of you is something that is either there or it's not. You know, even the greatest actors in the world, like Laurence Olivier, you know, you watch his work and he's got something that oozes out of him that makes him have this respect, you know, that you just look up to him and you respect him. And with me, I have apparently been told a gazillion times that I have this essence of kind of vulnerability mixed with other things that I don't mean for them to be there. You know, I'm concentrating on the words and the character and all the other things. But I think lots of people that kind of stay in the business for a while, they do sort of tend to have their own stamp on things. So it's hard when it's you think, I don't know, do I? Well, I don't know what's oozing out of me, you know, when I'm on screen. It's because it's you know, so it's hard to be objective. And it's a bit self-indulgent when you sort of start analysing it. You think, well, no, I'm not comfortable with this, you know.
You weren't given an easy time on Eastenders. There was a lot of dramatic stuff you had to do day in and day out, and of course that crescendo at the end. Can't have been easy, bearing in mind what you went through as a child, because did it bring back stuff? How did you distinguish between the two?
I mean, I really believe that in your career, the things that are kind of put in your lap or the things that come to you are often somewhere in your life a mirror of what's going on in your own life or what's happened in your own life. That's why I'm always fascinated to see what other stars are doing next. It just seems to be the way energetically things seem to work. And so when I was doing Tiffany day in, day out, what was lovely for me was that I based a lot of her on my mother. And I would speak to the script writers about it, and even the kind of abusive relationship she had with Grant and everything else, because he was so lovely and because everybody there was like my family and my close-knit network. It was really cathartic because I had a chance to kind of readdress things and do things, and you realise that it's not your fault. and certain things aren't your fault, and you realise through analysing these characters that are so like you, it's like free therapy. It's great. It is really good. And there are times that it just is what it is. There are times that it's nothing to do with you, or you didn't actually feel like that with certain things. There's things that, Tiffany did I'd never do, and there's reactions she had that I would never have. She was a real live wire. And I'm fiery, but not as often as she is. She's so fiery every day, and she was great fun to play.
I just want to talk about what it's like being gorgeous and a huge star and really popular and on everybody's arm. I've never experienced that. In the height of your EastEnders days and following it, how does that feel?
Well, I don't know. I work very hard. I take care of myself, and I've always been in shock when movie stars or pop stars have asked me out on dates. I've kind of not let them see that, but I've always inside been thinking, was it me? Are they asking me? And I think as well that once you kind of speak to them for sort of 20 minutes or so, you just realise that they are people and they're doing a job, and I'd be a liar if I said I wasn't inspired by some of them and I hadn't been in awe of some of them, but they are all human beings at the end of the day, and the more you realise about the business, you realise just how real it is and how the people at the top of their game are there, after all these years, because they're good people normally.
If somebody like me with a face like mine came to you in the bar and said, Martine, will you come on a date with me? Would I even stand a chance?
Oh, for goodness sake, stop doing yourself down, man.
I'm putting myself up. What are you talking about?
Are you doing yourself down? Would you even look at me? At the end of the day, I've dated, my longest relationships have been with men that are unknown. It was just something that I preferred, and my other half now is involved with the business, and not the least bit jealous, I think it's hard because when you date someone who's not known, all the things they love about you in the beginning, all the things that are very tough for them to deal with later on, and they kind of almost feel resentful. And what's lovely is that if you've got somebody who's in the business, they want you to shine. They want you to go out there and be the best you can be, and they're not threatened by it. And it's taken me a long time to sort of find that. But sometimes the really known ones, it's kind of like you're fighting for the mirror. It's like, who's the bigger tart, me or you?
Has there ever been anybody you've said no to that you later thought, actually, that would have been nice just to put in the little black book?
Yeah, there've been a couple, but you can just see that they're trouble. I do seem to get like the rock and rollers. I don't know why, because I'm supposed to be this sort of sweet nation sweetheart, but I get the rock stars like going, oh, you're lovely, let's go out on a date. And I just look and I just think, you could be a heartbreaker, or you could be so self-destructive. I don't know if this would be for me.
Have you ever thought of going the Katie Price way? Because you could have been her in your day, where you open up to everything and allow the cameras into your house and let them film your children that may be, or your family. We got to know a lot about you, but not too much.
Yeah, I think it's different. I think the biggest difference is that when you have that confidence that you've trained in something and that you are equipped with a talent to do something. Her talent is that she has been so brave and had so much guts, and she's prepared to share so much, and that's her choice. But for me, I want to rely on different things. And for me, it's about, singing a song beautifully, acting a scene beautifully, and doing a job. My life isn't my job. As a result, I have had to discuss my life, and the bits I want to talk about, I will, and the bits I don't, I won't. But I think for me, it's important to have those boundaries. I think some people within the arts think that I should have even more boundaries, but until you've kind of been a pop star as well, where you have to talk about yourself, you're not just the actress anymore. The minute I had Perfect Moment and Wishing and On the Radio and all these different songs, it kind of put Martine McCutcheon up there. It wasn't Tiffany anymore, and I couldn't hide behind the actress bit either. So unless you live it, it's hard to kind of explain to people why you as a person, as well as what you do, is up there for kind of scrutiny.
Are you okay right now? And I mean that on several levels. Are you okay personally, professionally? Do you miss the adoration of having the kids screaming at you and the number ones around the world? Because, you are a hugely talented and successful artist musically. At the moment, you're writing, so that takes you away from that. Are you happy?
Really happy. I'm the happiest I've ever been, actually. I feel a peace and just a contentment that I've been looking for a long time. And I think it's not a coincidence that when I decided to take a year out to write a book, that my love life flourished. I had a time to give it a chance. I think the biggest misconception about me has been that I've been a victim in love. I've broken hearts, I've had my heart broken, I've had my good times, my bad times, but I've had some amazing relationships. But I didn't, like I say, it's hard for you to know the right person's right for you when you don't know who you are. And you're constantly being someone else. And so it was lovely for me to take time out, be normal, pop to the shops, write my novel. And, the music I want to go back to, it's not the same business anymore. It really isn't. I'm young, I'm 33, but it's changed so much in the last 7 years. It's downloads, there's no CD UK, there's no Top of the Pops. It's hard to know where you're going to show all this music now. It's not as big as it used to be, really. I mean, the live gigging bit is, but the other stuff just isn't. And I think that's a real shame, because more and more people are kind of just taking magical stars for granted. And it takes away that sort of inspirational element that I think we all need. We all need our heroes,
How does it feel? You mentioned popping down the shops, and you go and get a coffee, and you look at the newsstand, and you're on the front page of this paper and that paper and this magazine and that magazine. Does that ever become normal?
You never ever stop being scared when that lens is pointing at you. You never ever stop that feeling going over in your stomach when you spot yourself on the front of the paper. You do feel a bit hunted down sometimes, and even having just 8 months out was so peaceful, because I didn't have to go to any of those places where I knew they would be. You can try and avoid it, but there are times that they do follow you home, and even if you're in Surrey and you're not in London, they'll follow you about everywhere, and that's when you worry. You go, oh no, what's the story? I don't know what this is all about. I'm in trouble. But I take what I do really seriously, but I do take myself, with a pinch of salt and a huge sense of humour. Because if I didn't, oh my God, I'd be dead by now with everything they've said about me. I thank God I didn't listen.
Can they hurt you now? Is there anything they could say that could hurt you?
Yeah, probably. I think the minute I stop being me and I stop being human and it doesn't hurt me anymore, I don't think my performances would be as good. I don't think I'd be as creative. But it's about having those boundaries and getting the right kind of fine line with things. Yes, I care what they feed to the public. Because that's partly my livelihood as well. It affects your jobs, it affects your income. And at the end of the day, I'm sure even Helen Mirren would say we all want to keep working,
You're very showbiz, and you got lots of showbiz pals, and we see you with Dale and all those type of people, and that's fine. But then when the phone rings and they say, will you come to Liza's wedding and be in the wedding party? What goes through your head? Because you're just this little girl from London who's had an interesting life and had some form of success, but then you're going to be in every magazine everywhere around the world with two of the most famous people of the minute. How did that feel?
My life, if there was a word for it, would be random. My life is very random. My mother always says, only you. I wake up and see Michael Douglas talking about you on a breakfast show. I see that you're linked with Mick Hucknall the next minute, and then Liza Minnelli's asking you to be a bridesmaid. I didn't even know you met her. And I kind of just get on with it and meet these people that, at the end of the day, they are. It's used sort of too loosely as a term these days, but they are living legends. I met Liza in a bar, and I'd stopped doing My Fair Lady, and I'd been very ill, and my confidence was just on the floor. And she gave me the most amazing talk and said to me, don't you ever let anybody take away your sparkle, and don't you ever let anybody stop you doing what you were born to do. I saw you in that show and you were amazing. She said, I've had hip replacements, drug problems, drink problems, and if I can still get up there, you can. And we just bonded, and I didn't know until afterwards. She'd always sit me either in the wings or front of the Royal Albert Hall, or wherever she was doing her music. And I found out that's what Judy Garland used to do with Liza. And so it was lovely that she was just so caring, and we still speak, not often, but we still speak. And it's really sad about the whole thing with David Guest, because I think she did genuinely believe in it. As much as everybody else saw it as a circus, she really did believe in it.
What did you make of him?
Not sure what to make of David. I don't know if anyone ever knows him. Don't know if anybody ever knows David Guest, but he's always been lovely to me.
Let's talk about the book. It's called Mistress. It's out now, and it's being very well received. It's written by you.
It's written by me. Can you believe it? A celebrity that's actually written her own book. It's been so funny that in this day and age, you're actually asked, you know, you wrote a book, but did you really write it? It's just gone, you know, randomly backwards. But yeah, I did really write it. It all started out as a TV show idea. And the head of the TV network, ITV, actually said, listen, you know, we want to create something for you, and who would you like to be in it? And it was a dream come true. And I said, look, I've always played, like, you know, either the tart with a heart, which is one extreme, or the girl next door, and I'd love to do something quite sensual, and maybe something like The Mistress. And it was before Mistresses was out. And he said, that sounds amazing. We'd love to kind of, you know, get your voice with it all. Could you go away and write kind of a body of work? So I said yes, sort of being so excited, and then I realised that it actually was a lot of work. And so I spoke to my mum and said, Mum, you know, I need to kind of write a synopsis and of this thing. And first of all, it was like a script. People got wind of it and said, have you got a publishing deal? Have you thought about writing the novel? And then he said, actually, if you could give us a novel, that would be even easier, because we've got everything. We can give it to the script writers and go from there. So I said yes, and the next thing I committed to an 80,000 word like novel, and my mum helped me with the discipline, because obviously her success as a writer really helped. And she said, okay, this is what you need to do, chapter by chapter breakdown, and just some organisation with it. And I wrote it all by longhand. You know, I do my emails and my bills and stuff, you know, on my PC. But other than that, I just found it really so uncreative. And so I just sat with all my pucker pads. I just would put on Van Morrison, and someone like you would come on, and I'd like write a romantic scene, and then I'd write a sexy scene when Kings of Leon came on, and you know, it just kind of all started to flow. And there were times for 2 weeks I didn't do anything, and then there were times that I just couldn't stop. I'd sit there in the morning, and my other half would come back and go, God, you've not moved, you're still in your gym jams with your hair in a top knot and your Ugg boots. Have you moved all day? And I'm like, nope. So it was brilliant, because I could just be whoever I wanted to be. I didn't have to be one role, because people say, oh, Mandy's like you, and she's kind of like the supermodel version of me. I've heightened her a lot. But I also kept bearing in mind that this could become a TV thing. And I went round the houses the long way round, but obviously if I'd sort of written her as a 3-foot redhead, I wouldn't have got the job as the actress in it. So I wrote it, I loved it. All my friends were a huge influence for it. And I know 2 of my friends are the other women, and I've heard their stories over the years, and the heartbreak and the sexiness and the spontaneity, and it's not an easy life, but it's a fascinating subject in a time where not many people raise an eyebrow too much anymore, but they do to that.
Congratulations on being you. I think you're a true inspiration. It's lovely to meet you, because you've got incredible warmth and everybody genuinely loves you. I've never heard anybody say a bad word. There's something about what you do on stage, and I saw you in My Fair Lady as well. I was lucky enough to see you in that, and to see somebody with God-given talent is so rare. And keep on keeping on, because you deserve to be a huge success.
Oh God, thank you. I just hope the opportunities keep coming, because without it I just don't feel right. When I'm not performing, I don't feel right. So I hope they keep coming.
Thanks, Martine.
Thank you.